A 15% decrease in sales is the detached market showing some signs of key shifts, or are prices stabilizing, allowing buyers to negotiate more? Let's find out. We will break down sales trends, price movement, and key market drivers so you can make informed decisions. And by the end of this video, you will know everything there is to know about the detached market last month. So we're going to break down this video into three main sections. The first being sales and inventory trends. The next being pricing trends, how pricing is moving. And the third section, key market drivers and who is actually benefiting: buyers, sellers, people waiting on the sidelines. So let's get into it. Section 1, sales and inventory trends, how the market is moving. So first, we're going to look at year-over-year sales. So detached home sales in February 2025 reached 477. This is a 14.8, almost 15% decrease from the home sales in February in 2024. A huge decrease in year-over-year sales for the month of February. This decline could be attributed to buyers hesitating due to interest rates, other seasonal factors, and a cooling market compared to early 2024's post-pandemic activity. Demand for detached homes has definitely softened compared to last year, but we will see that the market is actually still holding steady. And despite the slower sales, buyers are still benefiting from the increased inventory and more choice compared to last year. Now let's look at month-over-month sales. So sales actually increased by 25.5% from January 2025. So there were 380 sales in January compared to the 477 detached sales in February. And this to me seems right away the seasonal pickup in activity, as February typically sees more transactions than January. These numbers are a clear sign that buyer interest is definitely growing as we enter the spring market, indicating an uptick in buyer demand. Really happy to see this, not because I want the market to explode in activity, but the sales numbers from January last month were pretty stark. And this increase in sales may suggest that buyers are regaining confidence finally, despite all of the economic uncertainty. Now we're going to look at listings. We're going to look at year over year and then month over month. So starting with year over year, the number of detached home listings were 1,444 in February 2025. This is down 9.4% from February 2024, where there were 1,596 listings. And when I see these numbers, fewer listings compared to last year, it could indicate that some sellers are holding off, expecting price stability in the near future. Because the market was a little bit slower, a lot of these sellers were holding off in hopes that they would get more money down the road. And this reduction in supply, in housing supply, could prevent prices from declining even further, even if we are seeing lower sales activity. It really comes down to how much sales activity there is relative to how many listings there are. Now let's look at the change in listings month over month. Active listings actually decreased from 1,594 listings in January 2025 to only 1,444 listings in February 2025. This is a 9.4% decrease in month over month listings. A drop in listings like this just month over month could indicate that some sellers may be waiting for better conditions, contributing to a more balanced market. And from my last stats report video, it looked like that there were just so many listings, not enough sales, and prices were going to tank if the market stayed in that kind of situation. But now that we're seeing lower inventory numbers, it could actually help stabilize prices. And some sellers may still maintain their leverage in some negotiations in other parts of Greater Vancouver. So those are all the numbers for listings and sales. Now let's move on to pricing trends, how prices are actually moving. So first, the year-over-year change in benchmark price. The benchmark price for detached homes in February 2025 was $2,006,100. This is actually an increase of 1.8% from the $1,970,000 benchmark price in February 2024. So despite the slower sales, the prices are seeing moderate appreciation year over year, which indicates underlying market strength. Reviewing the market stats every single month, I am always surprised by how little change there is in price. It seems like inventory can flood the market, sales could drop off a cliff, and prices in the short term anyways aren't changing too much. And as we can see year over year, only a 2% increase in price in a really slow market. It is pretty crazy. So it looks like homes are holding steady as far as their value goes, meaning detached properties still seem like a pretty solid investment. So now let's look at the short term, the month over month change in benchmark price. And I reviewed the stats, it was only a 0.1% change in benchmark price. It remained virtually unchanged month over month. Stable prices suggest that we are in a balanced market where neither buyers or sellers have a strong advantage when it comes to negotiating. I think this is a healthy thing to see because we don't want to see huge changes in prices. And whether or not you're looking to buy or sell, you have the time to make a good decision. a rational decision and not do anything too crazy and too rash in a time pressure situation. But we will see. If demand increases in the spring, we may see some slight upward pressure to pricing over the coming months. Next, we're going to look at the sales to active ratio. So the sales to active listing ratios for detached homes this past month was 10.7%, and this is up 9.2% from January 2025. So ratios under 12%, this means that there is more than 8 months of inventory on the market based on the current sales velocity. Means that we are in a buyer's market, meaning buyers have more negotiating power, typically. So although the sales to active listings ratio did increase, we are still technically in a buyer's market, but it is a good sign that we may shift into a balanced market come the early spring. And looking at the stats from January, I didn't really believe this, but now with inventory showing signs of decreasing, we could see a gradual shift towards that balanced market I mentioned, which might support some pricing stability in the near future. And now for the last section, key market drivers, what is influencing supply and demand and how it's affecting buyers and sellers. So first of all, who is buying right now? It seems like the big buyer segments are including families, upgraders, and investors looking for long-term appreciation. With mortgage rates expected to ease later this year, some buyers may be getting ahead of future rate cuts in anticipation that the market will get busier. We still see larger homes in suburban areas still continue to be in demand, especially as affordability challenges continue to persist in urban areas. A slower market like this is a great opportunity for people that are looking to upsize, upgraders, because you can often find more savings on a more expensive product and still get a decent price on your smaller home. A lot of these things like relocation or growing family are not market dependent, they're life dependent. So even if the market is bad, people are still going to have kids, they're still going to need more space. And these are the people that are still moving and selling in this market. Right now, there also seems to be some really good pre-sale opportunities, some fire sales on some product that new construction or developers have held back and isn't selling. They're offering major incentives and major price cuts. So if you're looking at pre-sale product, this is a really good time to shop. Because if the market does shift in the spring, they could take away these incentives that they're offering right now in an instant. Okay, now let's look at who is selling right now. Well, a lot of downsizers are selling right now because there is a lot of option on the market. They're able to find that perfect home that they could live out the rest of their lives in. They're not so price sensitive, they're more option sensitive. So this is a market where they thrive. They are not necessarily trying to maximize their profits on their detached home because they're most likely going to be mortgage free in their townhome or condo. They just need to find the right one. We're also finding some investors are trying to offload some of their product and some of their assets and try to move them into different sectors. But a large portion of sellers are still waiting for the spring. They're expecting more favorable conditions. They want to let interest rates come down a little bit, let buyer confidence start to increase. And if inventory remains limited, the detached home price could hold pretty steady despite lower demand. Now let's look at interest rates and financing. I am filming this before they cut rates in March. And looking at all the predictions up to this point, it is looking like a over 90% chance that they are going to cut rates March 12th, 2025. On top of this, they have indicated that they plan to cut even more rates in mid-2025, leading into the end of the year. Of course, these lower interest rates could have an impact on market activity, allowing buyers to afford more. And if more buyers enter the market, of course, this could drive up competition and put some upward pressure on prices. But it creates a situation where sellers may want to actually hold off until rates actually do drop in hopes of a higher home value later on in the year. But it creates this lagging market that we're seeing right now, where sellers are holding off to list their homes later in the year and buyers are waiting for interest rates to come down. So everyone is waiting. And then a couple notable external factors. Obviously, we have the tariffs and the threat of the tariffs with the US and China, and we are going to see how this affects the housing market. It seems like strata fees have been climbing pretty steadily, so I know a lot of people in condos and townhomes are really trying to get into the detached market to try to get out of paying a monthly strata fee. And then there are the new zoning laws. So the government policies aimed at increasing housing supply, increasing density could impact like market dynamics later in the year, because a lot of these municipalities need to have their bylaws updated by I believe it's June or July 2025. So we can see some detached home prices start to climb if they're in these areas where you can develop something more substantial, more dense. And if these types of homes are easier to develop than, let's say a small townhome complex or a low-rise building, we might see even more detached homes with secondary suites, attached dwelling units, duplexes, triplex, fourplex. All of these types of homes show up more in the market over the next 2 to 5 years, let's say. So now in conclusions, recommendations, and market outlook. So if you are a buyer, more inventory means better selection. And not only will you have more choice, you will have more negotiating power. And with potential rate cuts in 2025, buying now could allow you to lock in a home before competition really starts to increase. I would suggest focusing on areas where demand is softer, as there may be better deals in these markets and leave you more room for long-term appreciation. If you want to know what these low demand areas are, just reach out and I'll be sure to send you a list. Now for sellers, pricing competitively is still crucial because the market right now is balanced and not overheated. Because we're not seeing an oversaturation in buyers, you still need to price sharp. Because we're not seeing the market oversaturated with buyers, you will still need to price competitively so your listing will stand out amongst the crowd. But we'll see, the spring market is just around the corner. Typically we see more buyer activity, but this also means more competition from other listings because listings also want to list in the spring. And if inventory remains tight as we saw in the month-over-month change, the detached market values could hold well throughout the year, throughout 2025. And now for market outlook. In the short term, we're seeing balanced conditions with steady prices, good opportunities for buyers. And in the mid to long term, potential price increases if interest rates drop. But ultimately, looking at the numbers, it will depend on supply and how much inventory will actually come to the market. So yes, compared to January 2025, we are seeing some stability in the market, but should you buy now? Should you wait? Let me know in the comments what you think. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. And stay tuned for more real estate updates. I still have to put out the condo market update, the townhome market update, and then stay tuned at the end of this month where I'm going to put out a March update. And I'm really curious to see what changes they're going to be because so far January and February have been wild. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.